The red ships came out of the dark between stars like drops of blood in black water. They moved in perfect lines, each one exactly the same distance from the next, no rushed movements. No panic, no fear. The Kethver had done this 73 times before. Commander Vexler stood on the bridge of the flagship and watched another world grow larger on the screen. This one was called Jelka Prime. The beings there looked like tall grass with eyes. They had built cities that sparkled like jewels on their blue-green world. They had ships that could travel between stars. They thought they were strong. They were wrong. The scanner officer turned from his station. His skin was gray like stone and his eyes were black pools. "Commander, we are in position. All fleets report ready." Vexler nodded once. He had given this same order many times. The words came easy now. "Send the message." The communication beam shot toward Jelka Prime. The message was always the same. It had worked on 73 worlds. It would work on this one too. The message was simple. Surrender in 3 days or die. On Jelka Prime, the grass-like beings gathered in their great halls. They spoke in voices like wind through leaves. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to run, most wanted to hide. But they all knew the truth. The red ships were too many. The red ships were too strong. 2 days later, Jelka Prime sent their answer. They would surrender. They would join the Kethver hegemony. They would give up their freedom to stay alive. Vexler was not surprised. It was always the same. Fear won every time. The Kethver soldiers landed on Jelka Prime in huge black ships. They came in groups of 100. Each group had orders. Take the weapons, take the ships. Take the leaders. The grass beings watched and did nothing. Some cried. Some begged. Most just stood still and waited for it to be over. Within 1 week, Jelka Prime was part of the hegemony. The grass beings who were useful became workers. Those who were not useful disappeared. The children were taken to special schools to learn Kethver ways. In 10 years, no one would remember that Jelka Prime had ever been free. The red ships moved on. High Admiral Korthvan received the report in his office above the hegemony's homeworld. The walls were made of black metal. The air was cold. Everything was built to remind visitors that the Kethver were strong and others were weak. 74 worlds, Korthvan said to himself. He looked at the star map on his wall. Red dots showed hegemony worlds. There were so many red dots now. Each one had once been free. Each one had once thought they could stay that way. His aide, a younger Kethver with silver markings on his arms, stepped forward. High Admiral, the next target has been chosen. Show me. The star map changed. A new section appeared. Yellow stars scattered across the dark. The Orion Arm, High Admiral. Intelligence reports 27 star systems with life. Most are small. Weak, but there is one that might be different. A blue dot appeared on the map. This system has one world with intelligent life. They call themselves humans. They call their world Earth. Korthvan studied the information that appeared next to. The blue dot? Only one world? How many of them are there? 8 billion, High Admiral. They have built cities on most of their land. They have ships that can travel to other worlds in their system, but not between stars yet. They fight each other often. They fight each other? Korthvan was interested. Now, most species stopped fighting themselves when they reached space. Why? Our spies are not sure, High Admiral. They fight over land, over resources, over ideas. Sometimes they fight just because they do not like each other. Korthvan laughed. It was a cold sound like breaking ice. They sound like animals. This will be easy. But the aide looked worried. High Admiral, there is something else. These humans ... they do strange things. What kind of strange things? They do not always run when they should run. Sometimes they fight when they cannot win. Sometimes they die for others they do not even know. Our spies do not understand why. Korthvan waved his hand. It did not matter. Strange or not, 8 billion beings on one world could not stand against the hegemony. How long to reach their system? 6 months, High Admiral. Send the Third Fleet. Commander Vexler will lead them. This Earth will be world number 75. The aide bowed and left. Korthvin looked at the blue dot on his map. Soon it would be red like all the others. 6 months later, the red ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Commander Vexler stood on his bridge and looked at the yellow star ahead. Around it, small worlds moved in circles. The third world from the star was blue and white and brown. That was Earth. "How many ships do they have?" Vexler asked. "Scans show 200 ships around their world, Commander. Small ones, weak weapons. They also have stations in space, but nothing that could stop us." Vexler nodded. 200 ships against his 3,000. "It would not even be a real fight," send the message. The communication beam reached Earth in 8 minutes. The message was the same as always. Surrender in 3 days or be destroyed. Simple, clear. It had worked 74 times. On Earth, the message caused panic in some places, fear in others. But in the halls where Earth's leaders met, something different happened. The presidents and prime ministers and generals looked at the message. They read it again. Then they did something that surprised even themselves. They laughed. Not because they thought it was funny. Not because they were not afraid. They laughed because the message was so simple, so cold. So sure that Earth would give up without a fight. The leaders of Earth had seen their own history. They knew their own. People, humans, had fought wars that lasted years. They had died for freedom. They had died for strangers. They had died for ideas that could not be touched or held. And now someone was telling them to surrender or die, as if those were the only two choices, as if humans had not already chosen to die rather than surrender 1,000 times before. The meeting lasted only 1 hour. There were no long speeches. No arguments. When it was time to vote, every hand went up. Every voice said yes. Earth's answer went back to the red ships in space. It was shorter than the Keffer message. Just one word. No. Commander Vexler read the message twice. Then he called his officers to the bridge. They said no, he told them. The officers looked at each other. In 74 conquests, no one had ever just said no. "Perhaps they do not understand, Commander," suggested the weapons officer. "Should we explain what will happen if they refuse?" "They understand," Vexler said. "Prepare the planet cracker. We will destroy their moon. When they see that, they will change their minds." The planet cracker was the hegemony's most powerful weapon. It could break worlds apart like cracking eggs. Every species that had seen it used had surrendered immediately, the huge weapon charged with energy that made space itself bend. It aimed at Earth's gray moon. The moon was small and dead, but the humans seemed to care about it. Destroying it would show them what the hegemony could do. The weapon fired. A beam of pure energy crossed the dark between the ships and the moon. It struck the lunar surface with enough power to shatter a world. Nothing happened. The moon hung in space, untouched. Around it, something shimmered like heat waves on a summer day. "Impossible," whispered the weapons officer. Vexler stared at the screen. In 74 conquests, nothing had ever stopped the planet cracker. A new message came. From Earth. This one was longer. "You have made a mistake." Commander Vexler stared at the screen for a long time. The moon still hung in space like nothing had happened. The energy shield around it glowed soft blue, then faded away. His most powerful weapon had done nothing. "Run the diagnostic on the planet cracker," he ordered. The weapons officer's fingers moved quickly over his controls. Numbers appeared on screens. Everything was working perfectly. The weapon had fired at full power. The energy readings were correct, but the moon was still. "There, Commander, all systems show normal." The weapon fired correctly. Vexler felt something he had not felt in many years. Confusion. In 74 conquests, this had never happened. Every species had the same reaction to seeing the planet cracker work. Fear, then surrender. How did they stop it? He asked. No. One answered because no one knew. The communications officer looked up from his station. "Commander, we are receiving another transmission from the planet." Put it on screen. A human face appeared. It was an older female with gray hair and lines around her eyes. She wore simple clothes. She sat at a plain wooden table. Behind her was a window that showed green trees and blue sky. "I am Sarah Chun," the human said. "I speak for Earth. You tried to destroy our moon. You failed. Now I will tell you what happens next." Vexler leaned forward. Most species begged when they spoke to him. This human sounded like she was giving orders. "You have three choices," Sarah Chun continued. "First, you can leave our system now and never come back. Second, you can try to attack us and learn why that is a very bad idea. Third, you can land a small ship with ambassadors, and we can talk about why you should choose the first option." The transmission ended. Vexler's officers looked at him. They were waiting for orders. But Vexler was thinking about something the human had said. She had given them choices. No one gave the Kethver choices. The Kethver gave choices to others. "Sir?" the communications officer asked. "Should we respond?" "Send a message to High Admiral Korthven. Tell him what happened. Tell him we need instructions." While they waited for the reply, Vexler studied everything his ships could learn. About Earth, the scans showed cities with millions of humans. Roads that crossed continents, ships in the oceans, planes in the sky. It looked normal. It looked like every other world, but normal worlds could not stop planet crackers. "Commander," the scanner officer called out, "I am detecting something strange." "What kind of strange?" "There are objects around the planet, very small ones. I almost missed them. They are hiding behind some kind of stealth field." "How many objects?" The officer worked at his controls. The numbers kept growing. "Thousands, sir." "Maybe tens of thousands." "They appear to be weapons platforms." Vexler moved to look at the scanner display. Tiny dots appeared and disappeared around Earth as the stealth fields flickered. Each dot was the size of a small fighter ship. "What are they doing?" "Just waiting, sir. They are not moving." "Not charging weapons? Just dotting?" "High Admiral." Korthven's reply came 6 hours later. His image appeared on the main screen. His black eyes were angry. "Commander Vexler, explain to me how a primitive species stopped our most powerful weapon." "High Admiral, I do not know. Our scans show they have technology we did not expect. Hidden weapons. Energy shields we have never seen before. Impossible. Our intelligence reports showed they barely had space travel." The reports were wrong. "High Admiral." Korthven was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke in a voice like cold metal. "You will proceed with the invasion. Use overwhelming force. Show them what happens when someone says no to the hegemony." "High Admiral, respectfully, they seem prepared for us. Perhaps we should send more ships first?" "Commander, you have 3,000 ships. They have 200. You have the Third Fleet. They have one world. Are you telling me you are afraid of these humans?" Vexler felt his pride sting. He was Kethver. He was strong. He was not afraid of anything. "No, High Admiral. I am not afraid." "Then attack. Destroy their defenses, land troops. Take their world. Make it red on our map like all the others." The transmission ended. Vexler turned to his officers. "Prepare all ships for attack. Target their orbital platforms first, then their cities." "Yes." "Commander." The Kethver fleet moved toward Earth like a red tide. 3,000 ships in perfect formation. Their weapons charged. Their shields up. They had done this so many times before. When they reached the halfway point between them and Earth, something unexpected happened. Every hidden weapons platform around Earth suddenly appeared. The stealth fields dropped at the same time. Thousands of small objects became visible all at once, but they did not attack. Instead, they moved, all at the same time. In perfect coordination. They formed shapes in space, letters, words. The words said, "Welcome to Earth, last chance to leave." Vexler almost laughed. It was a bluff, it had to be. Thousands of small platforms against 3,000 warships. The humans were trying to scare him with numbers and tricks. "Continue the attack," he ordered. The Kethver ships kept moving forward, their weapons locked onto targets. Earth grew larger on their screens. Then Sarah Chun's voice filled every ship in the fleet. You chose poorly, she said. The human orbital platforms moved again. This time they did not form words. They formed a sphere around the entire HFY fleet. A perfect sphere with the alien ships trapped inside. How did she get on our communication channels? Vexter demanded. I do not know, sir. She is transmitting on all frequencies at once. Even the secured ones. Cut all communications. I cannot. Sir, the signal is too strong. It is overpowering our systems. Sarah Chun spoke again. Commander Vexter of the HFY 3rd Fleet, your real name is Vexter Morden. You were born on HFY Prime 43 years ago? Your father was a ship captain. Your mother was a teacher. You joined the military at age 16. You have conquered 17 worlds personally. You think you are strong. Vexter felt cold fear run down his spine. How did she know his real name? How did she know about his parents? That information was classified at the highest levels. You are wondering how I know these things, Sarah Chun continued. The answer is simple. We have been watching you for a very long time. We know about all 74 worlds you conquered. We know their names. We know what happened to their people. We know everything. The sphere of human platforms began to glow, not with weapons energy, with something else. Something that made space itself shimmer. We know about the grass people of Jelka Prime, Sarah said. We know about the rock singers of Tith Mor. We know about the cloud dancers of Veltar. We know about all of them. Images began appearing on every screen in the HFY fleet. Pictures of the worlds they had conquered, pictures of the beings who lived there, pictures of what happened during the invasions. We know because some of them escaped, Sarah said. Some of them found their way to us. Some of them told us their stories. Some of them are here now, on Earth, helping us prepare for you. Vexter realized the truth with growing horror. The humans had not been alone when they built their defenses. They had help. They had knowledge from 74 conquered worlds. You see, Commander, Sarah continued, you made one mistake. You assumed that everyone you defeated stayed defeated. You assumed that everyone who ran away stayed away. You assumed that no one would ever fight back. The glow around the human platforms grew brighter. You were wrong. Space itself began to bend around the HFY fleet. Their ships could not move forward. They could not move backward. They could not move at all. What is happening? Vexler shouted. The humans have us in some kind of gravitational field, the scanner officer reported. We are trapped. Sarah Chun's face appeared on the main screen. Again, now, Commander, you have a choice. The same choice we offered before, leave and never come back. Or stay and see what 74 conquered worlds learned about fighting while you thought they were beaten. Vexler looked around his bridge. His officers were afraid. He could see it in their eyes. For the first time in their lives, they were the ones who were trapped. They were the ones who were helpless. What do you want? He asked. Sarah Chun smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was sad. We want you to understand something, Commander. There is a difference between being conquered and being defeated. Your empire conquered 74 worlds, but you never defeated the people who lived on them. You just made them angry. And now, she said, they have somewhere to go when they get angry enough to fight back. The transmission ended, but the human platforms stayed where they were, waiting, watching, keeping the HFY fleet trapped in their gravitational web. For the first time in 74 conquests, Commander Vexler did not know what to do next. High Admiral Korthvin stood in his war room staring at reports that made no sense. Commander Vexler's fleet was trapped around Earth. The humans had technology that should not exist. Worst of all, something was happening across the hegemony. Rebellion. It started small, a few missing supply ships, some communication blackouts on outer worlds. Korthvin had seen this before on newly conquered planets. It always ended the same way. The rebels ran out of weapons or food or hope. Then everything went back to normal. But this was different. Report, he ordered his intelligence chief. The pale HFY officer consulted his datapad. High Admiral, we have confirmed uprisings on 17 worlds. The rebels are using new tactics. They strike fast and disappear. They target our communication centers and supply depots. They seem to know exactly where to hit us. 17 worlds, Korthvan repeated. In how much time? 3 days, sir. All of them started at almost the same moment. 3 days. The same 3 days since Vexler's fleet had been trapped at Earth. That was not a coincidence. What about our garrison forces on those worlds? That is the strange part, High Admiral. The rebels are not trying to destroy our forces. They are trying to capture them, alive. Many of our soldiers have been taken prisoner instead of killed. Korthvan frowned. Most species killed their enemies in war. Taking prisoners was wasteful. It meant feeding them and guarding them. Why would they want prisoners? We do not know, sir. A new officer entered the war room. His uniform showed he was from communications. High Admiral, urgent message from Jelka Prime. Jelka Prime was the grass people's world. The ones Vexler had conquered just before going to Earth. They have been quiet and obedient for months. What is it? The message is strange, sir. It is not from our governor on the planet. It is from the Jelka themselves. Impossible. We removed all their communication equipment. Yes, sir. But they are transmitting anyway. They want to speak with you directly. Korthvan considered this. Speaking directly with conquered peoples was beneath him. But these uprisings were too coordinated to be normal. He needed information. Put them through. The screen in front of him flickered. Instead of one Jelka, he saw dozens. They stood in what looked like their old government building. The one that was supposed to be destroyed, the tallest Jelka stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was like wind through leaves, but there was something new in it, strength. Hi, Admiral Korthvan. I am Velthara, speaker for the Free Jelka. We have a message for you. Free Jelka? Korthvan almost laughed. You are conquered? You are part of the hegemony? You are not free? We were conquered, Velthara agreed. But conquest is not the same as defeat. The humans taught us this. There it was again, the humans. What humans? No humans have ever been to your world. Not in person, Velthara said, but their messages reached us. Their teachers found us. They showed us something we had forgotten. What? How? To fight back, the screen changed. Now it showed images from across Jelka Prime. Kethver soldiers were laying down their weapons. Kethver ships were landing with white flags. The planetary defense grid was under Jelka control. Your soldiers are not dead, Velthara continued. We took your human teacher's advice. We captured them instead. They are safe, they are well treated, and they are learning something new. Learning what? That there is another way to live. Without conquest, without fear. Some of them are already asking to stay. Korthvan cut the transmission. His hands were shaking with anger. Or maybe fear, he was not sure which. Get me reports from all worlds, he ordered. All of them, now? The reports came in over the next hour. Each one was worse than the last. Teth More, home of the Rock Singers, rebellion. The Kethver garrison was surrounded but unharmed. The Rock Singers were using sound weapons that made Kethver equipment stop working. Veltar, where the Cloud Dancers lived, rebellion. The Kethver ships could not find the rebels. They attacked from the clouds and vanished like mist. Mordish, the metalworkers' world, rebellion. The metalworkers had turned their factories into weapon plants. But instead of making killing weapons, they made capture weapons, nets and stunners and sleep gas. World after world. All following the same pattern. Strike fast. Capture enemies. Offer them a choice. Stay and learn a new way, or go home and tell others what they had seen. How many worlds now? Korthvan asked. 37, High Admiral, and the number is growing. 37 worlds. Half of them had been conquered years ago. They had been quiet and obedient, until now. Sir, the communications officer called out, we are receiving a transmission. It is being broadcast to the entire hegemony, every world, every ship, every communication device. From where? Earth, sir. Put it through. Sarah-chan appeared on the screen again. But this time she was not alone. Behind her stood beings from dozens of different worlds. Korthvin recognized some of them: the tall grass people of Jelka, the crystal bodies of Morden, the floating wisps of Heltar. All species the hegemony had conquered. People of the galaxy, Sarah-chan began. My name is Sarah-chan. I speak for the Coalition of Free Worlds. We have a message for every being who lives under Kethver rule. Coalition of Free Worlds. Korthvin had never heard that name before. For too long, the Kethver have spread across the galaxy like a disease. They take worlds, they break spirits, they make people forget that freedom is possible. But today that ends. The camera pulled back. Korthvin could see that Sarah-chan was standing in a huge hall. Thousands of beings filled the space. Representatives from every world the hegemony had ever conquered. We are not here to destroy the Kethver, Sarah continued. We are here to offer them the same choice they have given to others. Surrender and join us in building something better. Or fight and learn why that is a mistake. The scene changed. Now it showed space around Earth. The Kethver Third Fleet was still trapped in the human gravity web. But now there were other ships nearby. Ships from dozens of different worlds, all working together. The age of conquest is over, Sarah said. The age of cooperation begins now. Korthvin cut the transmission. His war room was silent. His officers stared at their screens and said nothing. Finally, his intelligence chief spoke. High Admiral, what are your orders? Korthvin looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed hegemony worlds. But many of them were flashing yellow now. Yellow meant unrest. Yellow meant rebellion. Yellow meant the people were no longer afraid. How many worlds are still fully under our control? 23, sir. But the rebellions are spreading. Our commanders on loyal worlds report strange transmissions. Messages telling their people that help is coming, that freedom is possible. And our fleets? Most are spread across the Empire trying to stop the rebellions. The first and second fleets are still at full strength, but they are 6 months away from Earth. Korthvin realized the truth. The humans had not just prepared for one battle. They had prepared for war across the entire galaxy. While his forces were busy conquering new worlds, the humans had been building an alliance with the old ones. Sir, another officer said quietly, there is something else. We are receiving surrender requests? Surrender requests? From our own ships, sir. Some of our captains are asking permission to land on rebel worlds. They say they want to hear what the coalition is offering. Korthvin felt something cold form in his stomach. Doubt. His own people were starting to question the hegemony, starting to wonder if there was another way. No surrenders, he ordered. No negotiations. Send orders to all remaining fleets. Converge on the rebel worlds. Crush the rebellions. Show them what happens when they defy us. High Admiral, his aide said carefully. Perhaps we should consider talking to them first. Learn what they want. Maybe we can reach an agreement. Korthvin turned on his aide with fury. Agreement? They are conquered peoples. They have nothing to offer us. We do not make agreements with slaves. But even as he said it, Korthvin knew something had changed. The word slaves felt wrong in his mouth, because the beings he had seen in that coalition transmission had not looked like slaves. They had looked like something else. They had looked free, and that was the most dangerous thing of all. Because once people remembered what freedom felt like, they would fight to keep it. They would die for it. They would inspire others to want it too. The rebellion was not just about conquered worlds fighting back. It was about an idea spreading across the galaxy, the idea that things could be different. Better and ideas, Korthvin realized, were much harder to kill than people. High Admiral Korthvin made his choice. He would not let the hegemony fall to rebels and escaped slaves. He would not let the galaxy think the Kethver were weak. If the conquered worlds wanted to fight, he would show them what real war looked like. Send orders to all fleet commanders, he commanded. Operation Final Order is now active. His officers looked uncomfortable. Operation Final Order was the hegemony's most terrible weapon. When rebels could not be stopped, when example was needed, when fear had to be restored, they used Final Order. They destroyed entire worlds. High Admiral, his aide said quietly, Final Order protocols require the destruction of all life on rebel worlds. That includes millions of beings. I know what it requires, Korthvan snapped. Do it, the orders went out across the galaxy, to every world where rebellion burned. The message was simple: surrender immediately or face complete destruction. Every living thing on the planet would die. Every city would burn. Every trace of life would be erased. It was the ultimate threat. The one that had never failed to work. Korthvan waited for the surrender messages to flood back to him. But instead, something else happened. More worlds rebelled. His communication officer looked pale. High Admiral, 17 more worlds have declared for the coalition. They received our final order threats and they laughed at us. They laughed. Yes, sir. One world sent back a message. They said, and I quote, "We would rather die free than live as slaves. Come and try." Korthvan felt rage building inside him. These conquered peoples had forgotten their place. They needed to be reminded. Begin final order strikes. Start with the nearest rebel world. Make an example. Which world, sir? Jelka Prime. The grass people started this. They will end it. The order went to the Second Fleet, currently orbiting Jelka Prime, trying to restore control. Admiral Morthak received the final order authorization and stared at it for a long time. He had served the hegemony for 30 years. He had conquered 12 worlds himself, but he had never killed an entire planet. Sir, his weapons officer asked, should we warn the population first? Final order allows no warnings, Morthak said slowly. We are to fire immediately. But as his fleet positioned itself around Jelka Prime, something unexpected happened. Ships appeared from behind the planet's moons. Not Jelka ships. These were human vessels. Human ships detected, his scanner officer reported. 20 vessels. They are positioning themselves between us and the planet. Morthak opened communications. Human ships, you are interfering with hegemony business. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. The reply came from a woman's voice. Not Sarachion this time, someone younger. Admiral Morthak, this is Captain Maria Santos of the Earthship Defiance. We know what you were ordered to do. We cannot let you do it. You cannot stop us. We have 60 ships, you have 20. Numbers are not everything, Captain Santos said. But you are right. We cannot stop you alone. That was when more ships appeared, ships from every direction. Jelka vessels rising from the planet's surface, crystal ships from Morden, metal ships from the Forge worlds, cloud ships that seemed to be made of mist and starlight, hundreds of ships, thousands of ships. A fleet bigger than anything Morthak had ever seen. This is impossible, he whispered. Captain Santos spoke again. Admiral, you have spent decades conquering worlds. We have spent years freeing them. Every ship you see belongs to people who remember what you did to their homes. Every captain out there has a reason to fight you. Morthak looked at his tactical display. His 60 ships were surrounded by 3,000 coalition vessels. The numbers were worse than hopeless. However, Captain Santos continued, we are not here to destroy you. We are here to offer you the same choice we have offered everyone else. Stand down your weapons. Land on Jelka Prime, see what these people have built since they became free. Then decide if that is something worth fighting against. And if we refuse, then you will learn why humans teach their allies to fight smart instead of fighting angry. Morthak had heard reports about human fighting tactics. They were said to be insane. Humans would ram ships into enemies rather than retreat. They would overload their own reactors to take down bigger targets. They treated death in battle as an honor instead of a failure, but there was something else about humans that worried him more. They made everyone around them fight like humans. Admiral, his first officer said quietly, our weapons are targeted on the planet. We could fire before they stop us. Morthik thought about that. Yes, they could destroy Jelka Prime, but then 3,000 ships would destroy his fleet. And the Coalition would use his attack as proof that the Kethver could not be trusted. More worlds would rebel. More species would join the humans. Sir? The weapons officer asked. Your orders? Morthik made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Stand down all weapons. Signal the Coalition fleet. We want to hear their offer. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Fleet after fleet of Kethver ships found themselves surrounded by Coalition forces. Each time, the humans made the same offer. See what freedom looks like? Then choose. Some Kethver commanders chose to fight. Those battles were brief and terrible. The humans had taught their allies well. Kethver ships were built for overwhelming weaker enemies. They were not built to fight enemies who refused to be overwhelmed. Coalition ships worked in perfect coordination. When one was damaged, others covered it. When ammunition ran low, supply ships appeared. When Kethver ships tried to target civilian areas, human vessels threw themselves in the way. The humans fought like they had nothing to lose. Because for them, freedom was worth everything, but many Kethver commanders chose the other option. They landed on rebel worlds. They saw what the Coalition was building, and many of them decided to stay. Back on Kethver Prime, High Admiral Korthvin watched his empire crumble. Reports came in every hour, another fleet defeated, another world lost, another group of his own officers defecting to the Coalition. How many worlds do we still control? He asked. 7, High Admiral, and 3 of those are reporting unrest. 7 worlds. From 74 to 7 in less than 2 weeks. What about our forces around Earth? Commander Vexler S. fleet is still trapped. The humans continue to hold them without attacking. They send daily messages offering the same choice as always. And our other fleets? The first fleet is 6 days away from Earth, but High Admiral Kethmore is asking for new orders. He says the humans have been broadcasting messages to his crews, messages from Kethver who joined the Coalition. Some of his captains are asking permission to defect. Korthvin felt the last of his certainty crumble. The humans were not just defeating his fleets, they were converting them. They were turning his own people against everything the hegemony stood for. Open a channel to Earth, he said finally. Sir? You heard me. I want to speak to Sarah Chan. The connection took several minutes. When Sarah Cheon's face appeared on the screen, she looked tired but not surprised. Hi, Admiral Korthvin, she said. I wondered when you would call. What do you want? He asked. The same thing we have always wanted. An end to conquest. An end to slavery. An end to fear. We want every being in the galaxy to have the choice you have never given them. And in return? In return you get the same choice. Join us in building something better. Or spend the rest of your life fighting a war you cannot win against people who will never stop fighting back. Korthvin looked around his war room. His officers were listening to every word. Some of them were nodding. Some of them looked hopeful. What about my people? The Kethver worlds? They will be free to choose their own path. Same as everyone else, some of your people will want to keep the old ways. Others will want to try something new. We will not force anyone to change. But we will not let anyone force others to stay. The same, you would trust us after everything we have done? Sarah Chun smiled sadly. Hi, Admiral, we have been fighting your empire for years. But we have also been learning about your people. Not every Kethver wants to conquer others. Not every Kethver believes in slavery. Many of your own soldiers have already chosen to join us. She paused. The question is, what do you choose? Korthvin stared at the screen for a long moment. Behind Sarah Chun, he could see the war room of the Coalition. Beings from dozens of species working together, planning together, building something. Together, it looked like everything the hegemony was not. I need time to think, he said. Of course, but Admiral? Do not take too long. Every day you wait, more of your people make their own choice. Soon, there may not be a hegemony left to surrender. The transmission ended? Korthvin sat in silence. knowing that the next words he spoke would either save his empire or end it forever. High Admiral Corthvan did not sleep that night. He walked through the empty halls of his command center and thought about choices. For his entire life, he had believed that strength came from making others choose between surrender and death. Now the humans were offering him the same choice they had given. Everyone else join them or fight them, but there was a third option. One that no Kethver leader had ever considered before: ask his people what they wanted. The next morning, Corthvan called a meeting of all remaining Kethver fleet commanders. 7 admirals appeared on his screens. They commanded the last free ships of the hegemony. Behind them stood their bridge crews. Everyone looked tired. Everyone looked uncertain. "Admirals," Corthvan began, "I want each of you to tell me something. Not as officers, not as Kethver. As people? What do you want to do?" Admiral Vexka spoke first. She was the youngest of his commanders. "Hi, Admiral. My crews have been listening to Coalition broadcasts. They ask me questions I cannot answer. They want to know why we conquer worlds instead of helping them. They want to know why we rule through fear instead of cooperation. And what do you tell them?" "I tell them it is the Kethver way. But honestly, sir, I am not sure that is a good enough answer anymore." Admiral Mordish was older. His ships had conquered 8 worlds. "Hi, Admiral. I have seen what the Coalition builds on freed worlds. They have better technology than us. Better medicine. Better food. Their people live longer and happier lives. Maybe there is something to learn from them." One by one, his admirals spoke. Each told the same story. Their crews were asking questions. Their officers were having doubts. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted to surrender. Most wanted to understand what the Coalition was really offering. When they finished, Corthvan made an announcement that shocked them all. "I am ordering all remaining fleets to Earth, not to attack, to observe. We will watch this final battle and see how it ends. Then we will decide together what the hegemony becomes next." 2 days later, every surviving Kethver ship gathered at the edge of Earth's solar system. 7 fleets, 300 ships. The last remnant of an empire that had once ruled 74 worlds. They arrived to find something impossible. Earth was surrounded by the largest fleet in galactic history. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds. Every species the hegemony had ever conquered was there. But they were not arranged for battle. They were arranged for celebration. Because Commander Vexler's Third Fleet, trapped for weeks in human gravity fields, had finally made their choice. They had surrendered, not to the humans, to the idea of something better. Corthvan watched on his screens as Kethver officers stepped off shuttles onto Earth's surface. They were not prisoners, they were not slaves. They were guests. Human children gave them flowers. Coalition representatives welcomed them with ceremonies and speeches. Some of the Kethver officers were crying. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet." "From who?" "From Commander Vexler, sir." Vexler appeared on screen. He looked different, younger somehow, less angry. Behind him stood humans, Angelka, and crystal beings and cloud dancers. All of them together. "Hi, Admiral," Vexler said. "I have something to tell you. These people, they are not what we thought they were." "Explain." "They are not weak. They are not afraid. They are not trying to replace our empire with their own. They really do want to build something better. Something where every species chooses its own path. Something where conquest is not necessary." Vexler paused. "Hi, Admiral. I have seen their cities. I have met their leaders. I have watched their children play with children from dozens of different worlds. This is not about defeating the Kethver. This is about showing the galaxy that there is another way to live." Another figure appeared beside Vexler. It was Sarah Chun. "Hi, Admiral Corthvan," she said. "Your admiral speaks the truth. We do not want to destroy the Kethver people. We want to free them, the same way we want to free everyone else." "Free them from what?" "From the belief that they must conquer others to be strong. From the fear that someone will conquer them if they do not conquer first. From the loneliness of ruling through terror instead of trust, the screen changed. Now it showed scenes from across the galaxy, Kethver soldiers working alongside the people they had once conquered, former enemies building things together, worlds that had been gray and fearful now green and growing. "This is what we offer," Sarah Chung continued. "Not surrender, partnership, not defeat, evolution, not the end of the Kethver. The beginning of what the Kethver could become." Korthvan looked around his bridge. His officers were watching the screens with wide eyes. Some were crying, others were smiling. All of them looked like people who had just remembered something. They had forgotten long ago. Hope, what would you have us do? Korthvan asked. "Come to Earth, meet the people your empire conquered. See what they have built, see what they are offering. Then go back to your own worlds and ask your people what they want to choose. And if some choose to keep the old ways, then they will keep the old ways. But they will not be allowed to force those ways on others. The age of conquest is over, Admiral. The age of choice begins now." Korthvan looked at his tactical officer. "How many ships does the Coalition have around Earth?" "Over 4,000, sir." "From more than 60 different worlds, 4,000 ships, representing billions of beings. All united not by conquest but by choice. All working together not because they had to but because they wanted to. It was the most powerful force a galaxy had ever seen, and it existed because people had finally remembered that they did not have to be afraid. "Send a message to all Kethver fleets," Korthvan ordered. "All ships are to power down weapons. All crews are to prepare for whatever comes next." He stood up from his command chair. For the first time in his adult life, he was about to make a choice not as High Admiral of the Hegemony, but as a person. "Communications, open a channel to Earth." "Channel open, sir." "Sarah Chun, this is Korthvan." "Not High Admiral Korthvan. Just Korthvan, I accept your invitation. I will come to Earth, I will see what you have built. I will learn what you are offering. And then I will go home and tell my people the truth. That the galaxy is not a place where the strong must rule the weak. It is a place where everyone can choose to be strong together. The last ships of the Kethver hegemony moved toward Earth not as conquerors, not as invaders, as visitors, as people ready to learn something new on Earth's surface. Children from 100 different worlds looked up at the sky and pointed at the incoming ships. They had no fear. Their parents had taught them that the universe was full of friends. They had not met yet. In the Coalition Command Center, Sarah Chun watched the approach of the former enemy fleet and smiled. It had taken 3 years to plan, 2 years to build, 6 months to execute, but it had worked. The galaxy had remembered that there was more than one way to be strong. In space around Earth, 4,000 ships from dozens of worlds hung in perfect formation, but they were not arranged for war. They were arranged for welcome. Their lights formed words in the darkness, words that could be seen from every ship approaching Earth. The word said, "Welcome home," because that was what Earth had become, not the capital of a new empire, not the center of a new conquest. Home, for anyone who chose freedom over fear, for anyone who chose cooperation over conquest, for anyone who chose to build instead of destroy. The Kethver Empire was dead. In its place, something better was being born, something that had no name yet because it had never existed before. A galaxy where every world was free to choose its own path, where every species could reach for the stars without stepping on others, where strength came not from ruling others but from helping them reach their own strength. It was the beginning of something new, something that would grow and spread and touch every corner of the galaxy. Not through conquest, through choice, and it had all started because one species had looked at the most powerful empire in the galaxy and said one simple word: no.